Heaven Official's Blessing. Chapter 209. Audio source: WuShoWorldAudiobook.com. Chaos in the heavenly court. Nefarious wave shakes the heavens. It's been hundreds of years since Xie Lian last felt such chill down his spine. Mei Nianqing said Bai Wuxiang was standing right before him, and Xie Lian's first reaction was himself, but he had forgotten. Before Mei Nianqing, other than Xie Lian, there was still Junwu behind him. Only, he had never suspected that person, so this was a startling revelation, which was why all of his hairs were now standing abruptly. Xie Lian struggled a bit, but the strength of that hand was extremely powerful, gripping him firmly without budging. He said in spite of himself, your face." Junwu's voice sounded like he didn't care for it at all, like he had only just noticed a trifling mistake. A moment's carelessness and they've come out again. Another wave of excruciating pain came from Xie Lian's wrist, and finally, he couldn't clutch the hilt anymore and loosened his grip. The long sword dropped to the ground and clang. A crisp, resounding sound filled the hall. However, it was too late. Many of the heavenly officials nearby, like him, had seen that horrifying face reflected in Hong Jing. A blanket of dead silence covered the great hall. Almost every heavenly official was stunned, including Feng Xin, who stood the closest and saw everything clearly. Mei Nianqing used this chance to break free of the hold and grabbed Hong Jing that was on the ground, raising it up with both hands to stand it upright in front of Junwu. Everyone looked closely. Look at the face of this man standing right here. It was a number of martial gods that came to their senses first, and Pei Ming rushed forward and shouted, his sword pulled out. "Who are you?" The heavenly officials standing further away didn't understand what was happening and they started crying. What's going on? Who is General Pei talking to? How can he point the sword at the emperor? Mei Nianqing stared intensely at Junwu without blinking, enunciating each word. He is Bai Wuxiang. Muqing was dumbfounded. How could he be Bai Wuxiang? Is Bai Wuxiang impersonating the emperor? Then where's the real emperor? Xie Lian was now also wondering if there was an underhanded switchover, but since when had this substitute been around? How come he didn't notice anything amiss? The martial heavenly emperor wasn't like the elusive low-key earth master, and no matter what, if he was impersonated, it couldn't have gone unnoticed by all in the entire upper court. Mei Nianqing was just about to speak again when Junwu raised another hand, sighing, "You've disappointed me again." Mei Nianqing's face suddenly dropped, appearing as if he was suddenly strangled in a chokehold by someone. Lang Qianchu picked up his longsword and slashed out Wuxing's sword gales, but Junwu turned his head, swept a look, and Lang Qianchu was sent flying back. The next second, Pei Ming, Lang Qianchu, Feng Xin, Muqing, Quan Yijun, and almost all the martial gods inside the great martial hall all sieged forward. However, an instant's time after, Junwu's hand was still gripping Xie Lian's wrist while all the martial gods that had surrounded and attacked earlier had fallen. Within the great hall, the ground was sprawled with martial gods who had all lost their attacking powers, and only Junwu and Xie Lian remained standing. Muqing threw up a mouthful of blood and yelled angrily at Xie Lian, who was frozen on the spot and silent. "Move. Do something. What are you zoning out for? Waiting to be killed?" Yet little did he know, it wasn't that Xie Lian didn't want it to move, but it was that he couldn't move at all. Even though Junwu was only using a hand to grip him. Yet Xie Lian could sense that even if he was to slightly curve a finger, the other would notice and immediately snap that finger, so never mind retaliation. Judging from whichever angle, the best decision was to remain still and cautious. Such was the power of the number one martial god of all three realms. The heavenly officials standing at the outer edges had scattered in trepidation. And it took a moment before they remembered to escape, rushing out of the great martial hall with their faces pale, but they'd only made it to the entrance before that set of glamorous heavy doors closed shut on their own. They slapped at the doors in futile The near 100 heavenly officials within the hall either couldn't get out or couldn't get up. Truly pure chaos. As for Mei Nianqing, his body was yanked forward by an unseen force, and Junwu grabbed hold of his collar, smiling. Did you think that by changing your mind last minute and told in front of everyone that I won't be able to do anything? Did you think that once they knew, they could threaten me by the uniting together? I can annihilate all of them with just one hand. It seemed that Junwu would bring Mei Nianqing up first wasn't simply to allow Xie Lian bid his farewell to Hua Cheng. He had told or threatened Mei Nianqing with some things, which was why the head priest was interrogated in the hall without concerns. Yet who knew at the last second, Mei Nianqing would go back on his word. He clutched Junwu's sleeves and shouted to Xie Lian, "Your Highness, run away. He's gone crazy." Head priest, Xie Lian exclaimed. The next second, Mei Nianqing couldn't speak any longer, like something was choking his neck, but he had always dressed in robes that covered his neck so Xie Lian couldn't see clearly what was wrong with it. Junwu sighed. "You dummy, what you're doing is no different than pushing them into a fire pit. Originally, this affair had nothing to do with them, but now, no one shall leave the heavenly capital alive." With things this urgent, Xie Lian immediately called through the spiritual communication San Lang. He had never taken the initiative to recite Hua Cheng's verbal password to the spirit communication array before. But under such dire circumstances, he didn't have the time to worry about being shy. Yet after reciting mentally a few times, it was still complete silence on the other end without any response. This feeling of communication blockage was exactly the same as in Mao Tonglu. With but a glance and Junwu could tell what he was thinking. No need to keep trying. If I do not permit, then you cannot communicate. The heavenly court was built on Junwu's powers. This place was his domain. He's the biggest, so of course he could do whatever he wanted. Which also meant, the entire upper court, the entire heavenly capital was now thoroughly isolated from everywhere else. This had truly become crying for the heavens in vain, crying for the earth to no avail. Suddenly, the doors to the great martial hall burst open. The heavenly officials all regained their spirits and rejoiced, yet when they saw who was standing at the entrance, they were all taken aback. Outside the hall stood a tall, black-clad man, his aura chilling and unapproachable, blocking everyone's way out. It was Ling Wen wearing the brocade immortal. The heavenly officials were all at a loss on what to do as Ling Wen crossed over the threshold and entered the hall, bending one knee to the ground towards Junwu, speaking with solemn respect. "My lord, rise and get to work," Junwu said. "You know what to do." Ling Wen inclined her head and smiled. Of course. Mu Qing struggled to stand using the wall as support, and seeing this, he was both shocked and dubious. Wasn't Ling Wen still at large in Mount Tonglu? That's correct, Junwu replied. However, I feel Ling Wen is very useful, and only made an insignificant mistake, so I've summoned him back. Indeed, compared to the white-clothed calamity that brocade immortal Ling Wen created really was an insignificant mistake. And now, both Ling Wen and the brocade immortal had become this Junwu's subordinates. Just then, a bundle of white shadow flashed and something leapt in, latching onto Junwu's foot and started nuzzling his boot. Feng Xin looked and cried angrily, "What are you doing? Get back here." That thing was the fetus spirit. Not only did it not obey the words of its own father, it had even started snaking its tongue out maliciously at him. Feng Xin was just beaten to the ground and puking blood by Junwu. Yet now his own son was hugging the leg of the enemy who'd wounded him, like it had no idea who its dad was, and Feng Xin was so enraged he puked another round of blood. Soon after, a troop of expressionless martial gods came pouring into the hall. Those martial gods were all officials Junwu had appointed up, and had ever only obeyed his command. Ling Wen received Junwu's control and ordered, "Take every heavenly official back to their own palace and watch over them." Pei Ming was sitting nearby, his expression complicated. "Ling Wen, how heartless of you. Ling Wen patted his shoulder. Didn't you know of my heartlessness from the first day we met? How about it, wanna join? You're always welcome. Pei Ming gave a dry chuckle but didn't speak. Once again, Xie Lian received special treatment, and it was Zhen Wu who would personally escort him back to Xianli Palace. Zhen Wu chided. Come. Xie Lian looked back and glanced at Mei Nianqing. Just what is going on? Who are you? What did you want to achieve? Who is this person? Is he Zhen Wu or Bai Wu Xiang? What is he planning? There were too many questions he wanted to ask, but they must be asked in private and very carefully. Only Mei Nianqing could answer those questions, but Zhen Wu would definitely not give him this chance. The moment they stepped out of the Great Martial Hall, Xie Lian was slightly taken aback. Upon the great avenue of the heavenly capital, the skies were gloomy, the clouds rolling nefariously. All had changed in the blink of an eye, and the once scintillating brightness was no more. Only the martial gods under Zhen Wu's command still acted as they usually did, as they sent every heavenly official back to their own palaces, and everything appeared uneasy and somber. As for the junior officials that had been rushing about, they were all now sprawled all over the grounds unconscious. Needless to say, this must have been Zhen Wu's doing. From afar came the dang-dang chiming of the bell. It seemed the problem laid with the bell. The two slowly walked towards Xianli Palace along the great avenue of the heavenly capital. On the way, Xie Lian had been spinning his mind trying to think of a way to escape. But he was no match against Zhen Wu, and any clever little tricks he could think of would be completely useless against the emperor. Besides, Zhen Wu didn't just have the martial might, he could also see through what Xie Lian was thinking. By the time they entered Xianli Palace, Xie Lian still hadn't come up with any idea, and he told himself to let it go, that it'd be fine even if he couldn't think of anything, because if he didn't communicate with Hua Cheng for too long, Hua Cheng would definitely notice something wrong. As long as things didn't get out of hand before that happened. However, after the doors were shut, Zhen Wu suddenly said, "Do you miss Crimson Rain Flower?" Zhen Wu's words made his heart jump to his throat, and his heart started pounding. Xie Lian didn't know how to respond. Yes, would Zhen Wu do something to Hua Cheng? No, Zhen Wu might not believe him. Hearing no response, Zhen Wu smiled. No need to worry, I know, you must miss him. I'm sure you really want to communicate with him. The way he spoke to Xie Lian was still the same as before. Warm, tolerant, composed, dependable, there were no changes. But the more he was like this, the more Xie Lian was confused and terrified. Then, Zhen Wu continued, if you really miss him, then why don't you connect with him for a bit and chat? He had guessed what Xie Lian was thinking when they entered the doors just now. Everything was within his grasp. Zhen Wu continued smiling. Xianli, do you know what to say? Don't let him be worried. I'm sure that Crimson Rain Flower of yours would be very happy that you're connecting with him as well. Then, he placed a hand on Xie Lian's shoulder. Xie Lian felt an intricate wave of movement and knew Zhen Wu had casted some sort of spell that could hear the content of their communication. Even if Zhen Wu wouldn't be able to speak, he could still hear. Naturally, Xie Lian knew what Zhen Wu wanted to hear him say. After a pause, he gathered his courage and bold-headedly said Hua Cheng's verbal password out loud. Having heard that verbal password, Zhen Wu seemed to have found it funny and chuckled a bit. However, Xie Lian had no time to be embarrassed or shy. It only took a breath of a second before Hua Cheng's voice rang next to Xie Lian's ears. He sighed. Gurgur, it's been so long, you've finally remembered San Lang. Xie Lian exchanged a look with Zhen Wu. He replied, San Lang, I haven't even left for 2 hours. However, Hua Cheng said, to me, the point is, you left not only 2 hours. Even for an instant it's still separation. Zhen Wu was listening right next to him. Hey! Even with the situation so perilous right now, Xie Lian still managed to feel some genuine embarrassment. Zhen Wu spoke up. Unfortunately, he will have to wait longer than 2 hours. Continue. Tell him that until the resentful spirits have been taken care of, he will not be able to see you. Don't give any hints in a roundabout way. I can hear everything. To finish taking care of resentful spirits, that'd be 7 days and 7 nights. After a pause, Xie Lian said, if you can't even wait for 2 hours, what will you do if I need to take a long time this time? Did Junwu stuff you with a big pile of missions? Hua Cheng asked. Yes, Xie Lian replied. Let me help you, Hua Cheng said. Junwu said, tell him after you complete the missions, I will permit you to take a 3-year break. Xie Lian said, there's no need. San Lang, you're already a great help guarding that array for me, so just let me handle everything else. The Emperor already said that after I complete this big pile of missions I can have a 3-year break. I won't have to do anything. Only 3 years? Hua Cheng asked. Is 3 years not enough? Xie Lian said. It's already a small perk. Alright, fine. But Hua Cheng said languidly. Gurgur, that's your perk. What about mine? End chapter.